traffic, sales, and profit. In this episode, I have Mr. Lamar Tyler joining me. Now, he is an entrepreneur, business owner, and him and his wife had built out TSP, Traffic, Sales, and Profit. And it's a community for entrepreneurs to come together to grow their businesses. So now you can see why I definitely have him on today's episode. Now, you want to make sure that you check out the links in the description to become a part of his community and to learn about the conference that we talked about as well. So without further ado, let's jump into today's episode and make sure that you hit this like button if you want to see more videos just like this one. Lamar, tell the people real quick, who are you? What do you do? Why do you do it? Who do you do it for if they don't know who you are already? Because if y'all don't know who he is already, I won't blame y'all too much because I didn't know until a couple years ago, but you guys got to know who Lamar is. Lamar, introduce yourself, sir.
Sure. Again, name is Lamar Tyler. Along with my wife, Ronnie, we're the creators and founders of several online brands. What we focus most of our time on now is a brand called Traffic, Sales, and Profit, where we help African-American entrepreneurs do three things: drive more traffic, convert more sales, grow more profit in their businesses, so that then we can use entrepreneurship, right, as a way to empower the African-American community, as a way to provide more jobs, more opportunity, right, and strengthen the communities all together.
Awesome. Lamar, you sound like me. You got quick to the point. He's like, I ain't going through all of this stuff that I do about buying buildings. I done movies and all this stuff. Lamar, take me back a little bit because I don't know your history too well. I know more so the Lamar Tyler from like 2018 forward. It's kind of when I think I've found out who you are, looking at different conferences, because, you know, anytime you go to conferences and events, you know, it's a time where people get together and everything. But like, kind of tell me your story of leading up to where you are now, because I think I'm big on the stories of like how people got to where they got to.
Sure. So it started December 2007. My wife, Ronnie, and I had talked about creating a blog. And we said, what's something that we're passionate about, something that we'll feel like doing. If it takes off and blows up, it won't be like a chore. It's something that, you know, we'll want to continue on to put the work into. And at the time, I was the IT manager of a TV station in DC, Fox 5 in DC. She was a project manager for IBM. But we said, like, hey, you know, what can we create? And what we sat down and created was a site around marriage and parenting initially, right? It was called blackandmarriedwithkids.com. We wanted to provide positive images of marriage and parenting in the African-American community. And once we did it, we created it, it took off. I mean, like pretty much instantly like that, right? Which does not normally happen. I want to let people know, if they're thinking about being an entrepreneur, it does not normally happen like that, but it took off. And it took off because we really knew that there was a gap, right, in our community in relation to positive images of marriage and parenting. And when we created it, we had couples that have been married 20, 30 years that said, Lamar and Ronnie, we've been married for 25, 28, 32 years. We never see ourselves represented on TV, in the news, in the press. We had singles that say, hey, my parents were married for 40, 50 years. So I know that exists, but I never see it represented. So they appreciated what we created and what we built. And if I could share a business, can I share a business lesson?
Oh, man, go ahead. Go ahead. Let's go.
A business lesson I learned with that initial brand. The first way because when we started, this is like 07, so it wasn't as many breadcrumbs of success as you see now. And we had heard about somebody making money through blogging, but we didn't know nobody that was doing it, right? It wasn't all these Twitters and Instagrams you could follow and everybody got a course and it was none of that. So we said, all right, like let's treat this like a business from square one. So even if it does begin to grow later on, we don't have to go back and redo everything from scratch. Yeah. So that meant, you know, we did it, we set it up as a business, right? We, you know, got all of our digital real estate, right? Our names everywhere so we could be consistent when we showed up in different places. It wasn't really professional logo design, but I got like what I could afford at that time. I treated it as if, right, it was going to be something to stand now. It's been multiple iterations of that over the years. But I did what I had to do. And at the time, I built the original site for it. But we literally just treated it like a business, got focused on it. That's lesson number one. Lesson number two is when we finally began to monetize it after like a year or so, most of the money we were making were from advertisers. And what we found is that to make more money, we had to do more what the advertisers wanted us to do. Because all the checks were coming from these people over here. Now, the problem is that these people over here, the advertisers, were not the people that actually were engaging with the content. Those were the consumers, those were the readers, those were the people that was part of our community. And what we saw happen is that the more we turn towards the advertisers and the more we turn towards, okay, what kind of content do they want? What can we create? How can we create it? How can we get more of it to increase revenue? We kind of begin to turn our back on our readers. So the second business lesson we had to learn as we grew Black and Married with Kids was that, even though we still did advertise, we were influencers. We worked with brands like Fisher Price and Pampers and Hanes, and we were spokespeople, Box Top Education, all this other stuff. What we started to do was we started creating our own products and services in addition to what we were doing on that side. The products and services we created gave us the ability to tap directly into what the challenges and pain points were that our audience had, gave us the ability to actually serve them on a higher level because we could give them exactly what they needed in order to be successful, and created an opportunity where we didn't have to depend on the brands and on the agencies as much, on an advertisement dollar as much, so that we could really just be focused on, all right, like what do these people want that are coming to the site, and how can we serve that to them at a higher level? Yeah. So it was good, man. Like we learned a lot of lessons. The original brand, as you mentioned, went on. When I talked about products, went on to create documentaries, right? We had no previous experience, but got into, that was our first real foray in the video. We started doing documentary films. We had 7 of those. We pretty much released like one every year for 4 or 5 years straight. We'd do 7, 9, 8, 10 city tours around the country of our own movie. We would rent out an independent theater, do a screening, sell the seats, sell them out, right? Sometimes sell out multiple shows. And then we figured out, all right, this is what makes people come out to an event. This is how you sell out something quickly. This is how you sell out the next show after the first show you sell out. And it really, again, was just the lesson of going through it, of learning the ups and downs, trying stuff that didn't work, doubling down on what did work, and really getting processes around how do we sell, how do we market, and how do we, again, provide solutions for the problems and issues that people have.
Man, I'm listening to the story. I'm like, what does the timeline look like on that, Lamar, from the time you starting a blog to the time you're like on tour doing these documentaries?
Yeah, so we started, like I said, the blog in December 2007. We released our first documentary in June of 2009. Okay. So back then it felt like it was a long time, right? But really, like looking back, it really wasn't, and it moved fast, right? And again, I think that goes to tapping into, there's so many pockets and gaps where people aren't served. And I if I could, somebody's like trying to figure like where do I start, or how do I find an audience? Instead of creating I think a lot of times we create a product and we try to find somebody and want that product. If you find the audience first and find out what they need and then create something they need, it moves a lot faster. And a great example of that, when we created our first documentary, 1 month before we created the doc, because I'm talking about 2007. So when we started on MySpace. Like that was the social network of choice back in 2007. So Facebook was just getting going, and Facebook, when we get to 2009, Facebook had kind of just opened up the doors to where your account didn't have to be tied to a college. Mm-hmm. So we go to set up a Facebook page, and I tell my wife, like, look here, Ronnie, I said, we got 1 month until our first screen of our very first movie in DC. I said, I'm gonna create this page. I created a page titled around the movie, Happily Ever After, Positive Image of Black Marriage. I said, I got this Facebook page. I'm gonna post on it every day. I'm gonna be consistent when people answer back. I'm gonna comment on their comments. All the stuff, people tell you today about social platforms. And I said, I'm gonna try hard, because I said people underestimate how hard it is to really build community. So I said, I'm gonna try hard. I'm gonna try to get 700 people in its first 30 days. And what happened is, because we tapped into a niche where their need was so great and they were virtually being ignored, in that first 30 days to the 700, we had 7,000 people on that page. And then we went on to have 20,000. Then I think we was up to like maybe 70,000 within a year. Then we broke past 100. We ended up with over 500,000 people liking that page. We ended up changing the name of that page from the movie to our actual brand, because we already had the people somewhere. So like, why try to reinvent the wheel?
Right.
But literally, like I said, that was the beginning of building that community there. And so many of those lessons that I'm talking about now is really the foundation of what we do today, because we learned so much about selling, about marketing, about automation, about building teams. And literally, like I said, we as we did it, people saw us building this brand. They saw it go from a blog to a business. They saw us getting employees. They saw us move from the home to an office. Like they saw all this happening and eventually said, hey, you know what? Teach me how to do what you're doing. And that's what we do now.
Okay. Man, that's amazing. Because, yeah, when I follow Lamar Tyler, I see this guy down in Atlanta. He's running these traffic sales profits conventions. And I'm like, hold on, that looks like something I might want to go to right there. And I see this guy on stage and a whole bunch of business owners. So what does TSP look like today? Because I will jump on. I don't see you too much live on YouTube or Facebook personal page.
Mhm.
But what you said, that community, when I log into your community page and see you go live, there's like hundreds of people watching you live. And I'm like, all right, this dude, yeah, he's legit. He knows what he's doing over here. So what does TSP look like now for you?
Yeah, well, that's a great question, and it's what you said, right? I'm real big on building community, and I always say like I'm real big on a few things, right? Niching down and getting real focused on who you want to serve, who you want to deliver to, and then once you find those people, building a community so that essentially you're not trying to serve everyone. I always say if you're serving everyone, you're not really serving anyone. So instead of trying to serve everyone, instead of trying to be a small fish in a big pond, you say I'm gonna create my own pond and be the biggest fish in there, right? And I do that by just serving the people. And when you find out, when you serve people on a daily, on a weekly basis, then when you have an event, when you have a launch, when you have a product or something coming out, you don't have to go find people to actually sell it to because you've already been serving all those people every day. And essentially, once you serve them, they are then waiting for more opportunities where they can actually plug into what you already have. So for us, it really was that. So for us, it's currently right through Facebook groups. And I want to just emphasize something. The medium changes. So like the overall strategy doesn't, right? The overall strategy is like, hey, you build community. Well, Black and Married with Kids at that time, it was hot initially to build on MySpace. Then it was hot to build a Facebook page. Then they shut down pretty much your organic reach to Facebook pages. And they said, all right, we'll let you go through groups, right? It could be on YouTube like this. It could be on Instagram. Like I think so many times people get too focused on what the medium is. And it's not the medium, it's the strategy. The strategy you can take and drop it here. Like I said, the stuff I was talking about a few minutes ago that we was doing in 2009 of, hey, we're going to build this Facebook page and we're going to engage every day. We're going to be consistent. When people comment, we're going to comment back. That's what people selling people now is how to grow their Instagram page.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's all there.
It's funny you say that because like we were talking right before we hit record, but it's like I was teaching and doing the same thing years ago. I was just doing it on different platforms.
Yes.
What I was doing on YouTube now is no different what I was doing years ago. I was still showing people like all the cool overlays and stuff that people are using for live streaming now. They get these lower thirds and like I was doing all of this stuff years ago, and I was just, because my background was being in the DMV, I learned the backbones of how to run and set up these conferences. So I'd be sitting in these rooms and I'd be in these meetings. I'm like, I don't want to hear this stuff because I had to run the conference though. So I had to do all the backbone technology. So I know how the technology works. So when Facebook Live came out, I was like, oh, this is consumer level finally hitting the masses. So I was sitting here and I was going live from my desktop and people are like, how are you doing it? I'm like, what do you mean, how am I doing? I've been doing this for years. So being able to just show it on different mediums, like you said, it didn't matter what medium I was doing it on. I was just showing them something I had been doing for years, and I just chose one medium that kind of took off, and people just seem to my community seems to show up there. But if I go and teach it on somewhere else, then that community, they'll go and they'll show up there. So I
Exactly.
love that. All right, Lamar, we got to talk about some of this video because that's how I knew who Lamar was. I think it's so powerful when people show up on camera because it gives you a chance to see that person, hear that person,
Right.
learn from that person, figure out if you even like that person or not really quickly, and just go the opposite direction. And when I heard you speak, I was like, oh yeah, he's good at what he does. I could just hear it in his voice. And I told my coach, I said, I literally met my coach because I was going through a Facebook Live and he was being interviewed by his coach. I didn't even I knew who his coach was, but I heard his voice and I was like, dang, this dude is powerful. And that's how I connected with you. Can you walk me through what allowed you, because you talked about documentaries, but what made you like get on these social platforms in a live aspect, and how has that helped you not only personal but business as well.
Yeah, I think it's exactly what you mentioned. I tell people all the time, the best way in the world to connect with people, and I'll say to connect with people and to actually have a product or service that you sell to people is in person. The second best way is via video. There's nothing comparable to it. And I know for the people that are writers and is watching this, right, they're like, but what about the written word? You can make it seem like as if the person there, but it ain't the same. Because I say in video is the only time when you can see a person's mannerisms, right? You can hear the inflection in their voice and the tone of their voice. You can see the excitement that they bring. So most time when I'm talking, I'm more of like an energetic person. So when I speak via video, like people can literally feel that energy. Now, again, you got to know who you're talking to. I mentioned this a few minutes ago, right? Because you have to realize that, hey, in business, like I'm not for everyone. And that's cool. But what video does give you the ability to do is if you can be your authentic self, find people that will naturally be attracted to who you are authentically. People that say, hey, you know what? Like I like that. Now, everybody don't like my energy, right? Every time when I do a challenge or something, there'll be people that's like, can you just get straight to? Nah, I'm not getting straight to it. You know what I'm saying? You want to get straight, you need to go over there, right, to somebody else. And I'm cool with that. But for the people that show up, they love the fact that I bring the energy because they like, man, I had a long day. I'm worn out, but now I got the energy again because I watched Lamar and I'm ready to go do whatever I got to do for me and my business. So I can do that. In video, I can teach and I can train and I can show that I know what I'm talking about, which is so vital. Because again, in today's world where everybody can just copy and paste something from a book, from another website, from another person, and then just post it online or take somebody else's screenshot of somebody else's Shopify store and post online. How do you know who the real people are? And what I'll tell you that it's hard to fake on video.
Yes.
like
Especially
if
that live
somebody
part.
faking, you can see through them quickly, right?
Yeah, especially when they live. One of the things that you're really good at, Lamar, and I think a lot of people that have that gift of bringing community together is they understand that these different aspects of what they're doing translate, like you said, across different mediums. When you're on stage, you know how to connect
Yep.
with the audience because you get a chance to look directly into their eyes. There's hand motions, there's gestures. Hey, get up on your feet. Let's jump around. Like you can connect with them. On video, you don't have the exact same things that you can do, but you can still connect with them.
It's
One thing you're
close.
really
Yeah.
good at doing is like engaging in your chat. Like when I look and I'm like, Dad, he said, hey to that person. They just typed in the comment. Like he is good about engaging. Can you talk about engaging with people through
Yeah.
video? Because people like get stuck in like, I'm just talking to a camera, but I'm like, no, you're talking to real people that are there.
Again, the reason this is a good question is because it also ties in what your previous experience is. Like you said, hey, like everything I'm doing now is based on all the things I did that kind of got me to this point. So when the opportunity presented itself, I was the right person in the right place at the right time. Well, I can do certain things on stage. I can do certain things on a live. It's easy because for years I did webinars.
Mm.
And as I was doing webinars, what was I doing? I was engaging with people in the chat, right? Before Zoom, I was using GoToWebinar for years and years and years. So the same way I can engage with people on a GoToWebinar or a Zoom or whatever like that, I can teach, I can train, I can ask questions, get responses. I can see people coming into the actual room and engaging. I would just take that very same thing and go on the stage and do it. And on the stage, I'm calling out people from the stage and I'm talking about this and I'm getting a reaction. And I'm sharing things that I already know will connect with people because when I shared it on the Zoom, it connected. So I know when I shared it in the real room, it's going to connect. If I shared it on Zoom in the real room, I know that when I share it on Facebook Live, it's going to do what? Connect again. So a lot of it is time back all the things and realizing all the things that you've done have led you to this point. That means just not what you've done from an entrepreneurial base. That means what you were educated in. That means the places that you worked and the things you've learned. That means all of that previous experience made you into the person you are. How can you articulate that and share that with an audience via video? The other thing I would say beyond that is when you can actually pull those things together, when you can leverage them, and when you can connect with people, it changes everything. And again, like video is how you do that because when I'm talking on video, and like you said, somebody comes in the room and I can acknowledge them. They feel seen. Like they feel special. That's why like I try to shout out as many people as I can once they coming in. Because I know even me, if I'm somewhere and I'm typing and I see somebody say my name, I'm like, hold up, they talking about me? Like,
Yep.
I'm
Yep.
looking, is another Lamar here, somebody else that they know, and it makes you feel special, it makes you engage more, it makes you more attentive to what's going on. So that's what I'm doing when I'm talking. I'm always trying to find connections with the people in the audience. I'm always trying to get feedback from them. I'm always trying to make them know that, hey, I'm in this moment with you, right? Like, this ain't recorded, this ain't nothing else. Like, I'm in this moment with you, especially with you right now. And then I'm always trying to also leverage video to show that, hey, I know what I'm talking about. And I
Mhm.
can do that. The ability what I can't do just in written word is, if you're in the chat and you're saying you're facing this problem, I can address that problem right now. And that'll separate me from 80% of the people on Instagram or other platforms right then. Because again, it's not just something I heard about and I'm sharing. I can say, hey, well, you know what? A few years ago, we ran into that same problem. Here's what we did. We had a client that did that and was able to have a major breakthrough. Here's what they did. And then once I share that, it changed the whole game.
Yeah, one of the things I'll tell my live audience is I say, hey, if you caught me live, you better ask the questions now because I'm here and
Yep.
I will give you the answer to it. And when I first started getting on live, because I'm an introvert by nature, and I didn't want to get on live to share my knowledge of technology and digital. I didn't want to get on live to teach it. Like, I had no reason to do it. I had a good job and everything. Buddy of mine, he was like, man, you got to show people how to do this live streaming thing. And so when I got on camera, it was difficult when no one was showing up. Like, because I'm new
Mm.
to live stream. I'm like, okay, I got like one person show up. Okay. And what I would learn to do very quickly, it was to engage with that one person. Like, it would be a full conversation and that person would be engaging right back to me. And I'm thankful that I had the small audiences at first and didn't have like, I jump on and all of a sudden I went viral or something like that, because I really learned how to engage with that audience and have this conversation. So no matter when I go live now, if there's one person, Lamar, I'm talking to that one person. What do you need? Because that's who I'm showing up
Mm-hmm.
for. If you took the time to stop scrolling to show up on my live stream, okay, this I'm here to help you out today. And so I love I love when people go on live and they're getting started because they're already doing what most people aren't going to do. I
Right.
know I did not want to get on live camera, but when I did, it turned into helping so many people get, like you said, get the results that they were looking to get. Now, I know you guys are enjoying this episode, but I want to make sure that I shout out our sponsor for these weekly shows, Melon. Melon is a live streaming platform that allows you to go live from any computer anywhere in the world as long as you have an internet connection. So regardless of whether you're on Windows or Mac or even your mobile device, you can actually use Melon to go live. That is the platform we're using in today's episode. So definitely check out our sponsor at MelonApp.live, and we're going to jump right back into this conversation. Did you ever have a confidence thing getting on camera, or were you kind of like natively, I'm the guy, I'm gonna show up on camera, it doesn't matter, I could just do this?
It's I think I was somewhere in the middle,
Okay.
right? Like, where I wasn't like, hey, I'm a pro, let me jump out here and do this, but at the same time, I wasn't terrified to get on and do it either, right? I think I was somewhere in the middle, and I think I had to find my voice and find my space, right? Where a lot of times, again, that just comes from being authentic. And one of the things I learned early when we like first started doing video, back in the day, pre-live stream, we just more so like create a video and then release it. One of the things I learned early is that video was my way to have my voice heard. Back then, like, as we were, say we started out as bloggers, so we would try to pitch to speak at blog conferences, and they wouldn't have us because they didn't know who we were.
Hmm.
And I said, you know what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna release videos talking about the things I know about and sharing what I know about. I created a series called The Gatekeepers Are Gone. And in that series, I would break down like why you got to be on social, right? The difference between this and that. I had a video called Crush talking about can't rest until something happens. That went through, like what it's like to work a 9 to 5, but then, have this passion that you're working on the other side and keep having to build it in the middle of the nights until early the next morning because you got a dream, you got a goal, you got a destiny, this type of thing. And what I said is, you know what? I'm gonna use video and leverage video to say, hey, if you don't see me and see who I am and what I bring to the table, I'm gonna create an atmosphere where you can't ignore me. You know what I'm saying? Like where literally either my name will come up in those meetings or somebody will bring my name to that meeting to where it'll come to a point where they're like, hey, if you're talking about this topic and you don't have Lamar there, like something ain't wrong, like something ain't valid with this conversation, with this conference, whatever it may be. And when I created that series, man, like for real, in a lot of ways, it changed everything. And what it also gave me the ability to do is, instead of looking for stages to get put on, it allowed me to start actually beginning to build my own stage.
Oh, he about to go preach right there, because that creating your own stage is something like I would find myself being a contributor to a lot of people, but until I started to create my own stage, my own platform, that's when it really took off for me.
Yep.
And one of the things you had talked about a little bit earlier is like filling in these gaps. And that's what I would look for. I was like, okay, where is the gap in what I have experienced in? Because oversaturation, right? Oh my gosh, that platform's oversaturated. There's too many people already doing what I'm doing or I want to do. And what I started to find, Lamar, was there was this group of people that just simply didn't understand the language. They had a language barrier between what people were, the gurus were telling them and what they were trying to accomplish. And so I kind of just filled the gap of doing the exact same thing, but I was just switching up the language. And like you said, I just learned how to talk to my audience a little bit better so that they understood. And so I had these people that would just show up from all walks of life that I was like, oh, I didn't even know you were my audience. I thought this was my audience, but I said, oh, now I figured it out a little bit. And so just doubling down on, that community part of it and growing a community has been huge. So yeah, Facebook stalked you. So let me get into that story real quick. So I saw Lamar and I was like, let me send this dude a friend request. And I said, he didn't accept my friend request. I felt some kind of way, right? Typically, I don't care, right? I said, it's Lamar. I said, that guy, I want to connect with good people. And so I deleted my friend request. I sent another friend request like a week later. I said, he still didn't my friend request here. All right. So I waited a little while. I was like, let me put up some more content. I said, maybe he just don't see what I'm doing over here. So I did another one and then you accepted it. So I was like, yeah, I said, I got to follow this guy, but I need him to see me. Like, I don't want to just do a friend request because, how we do social media, you can do a friend request for anybody. I said, there's something about Lamar. Like, I got to figure out a way to get to his circle. So I want to come to one of your events here soon. I'm getting ready to welcome baby girl here. So I won't be able to come to January, but I promise I'll be down in Atlanta for one of your events, because I don't even want to come to the event just because I want the knowledge. I just want to come to the event to meet Lamar and to be in the atmosphere. There's something about being in the atmosphere as well. Yeah, it's just different. So I'm looking forward to getting back to that. All right. Tell me about the event space, Lamar. So we got these community of people. What made you think to put together an event? You done stepped out there now, because you gotta get people to show up, buy these tickets, get hotels, and all this good stuff to run an event.
Yeah. So what happened with us is that we realized a while back, like I said, with our previous brand, that it's something special that happens when you get online community. I talked about the importance of building a community online. When you can bring that online community offline, it takes it to an entirely different level. And the beauty of it is most online people are not really willing to do that. They're like, hey, everything is cool as long as we stay in these social media networks, but I ain't really trying to get face to face with people. And what we realized is, like, it's just what you said a minute ago. Once we get in that room, everything is different. Like, the atmosphere is different. The relationships are different. And it's like the same thing of having like that online buddy that you cool with. And you're like, hey, this is cool. But when y'all meet in person and you break bread in person, I'm looking forward to meet you in person, right? When you break bread in person, it just takes the relationship to an entirely different level. And for us, so we already knew, like, hey, because we had seen that happen with our Black and Married with Kids brand. And over there, we had done workshops. We ended up doing boot camps. We did 4 cruises where we took couples out, on 5 and 7 day cruises. So when we came to Traffic Sales and Profit, we already said, hey, we know with TSP, like, we want to do something in person to actually take these people that are learning, these business owners, and get them all in the same room and see the magic happen. We did that for the first time in June of 2016. We were shooting to have, event with hundreds of people, 47 showed up, right? But what we did is we stayed consistent. So we have events every 6 months. We had an event that first time in June, we did one in January. Then we come back in every June and January, we do it. And what happens is, by being consistent, we've grown that audience from 47 people in 2016. Our January event, we've sold outright at 700 tickets. So just showing up consistently, doing the same thing, right? when people come, like it's such an authentic experience to the actual community that we serve. To the online, it's like it's congruent with everything we do online. Is like the in-person event is like the manifestation of all of that. And then it's the people that you recognize from the group. It's the people that you've seen like grow literally in front of you and kind of take off that are sharing world actionable items that you can then go take and implement in your own business. So I mean, they've been special. Like I said, our next one is in January. People can find out about it at tspgameplan.com. In January, the difference, people always ask the difference between January and June event. January, we focus on that year. So it's like, all right, in January, what can we do to blow out 2022, right? What can we do in 4 areas, right? People, who are the people you need, the teams, whether it's 1099, W-2, interns, whatever it is, you need people around you to help craft and build out that vision. We focus on the people. We focus on the projects, right? Like what are, excuse me, projects and planning. So like how can you actually create a plan for what you're going to do in a year so that you can have more success with it? We talk about profit, not just making money, but how can you retain it? And then the 4th piece, we talk about the products. What are the products and services you have for that year? So as we go over in game plan, then in June is more like a deeper dive into sales and marketing. But again, it's being able to take online people offline, creating a deeper piece of that experience, and then showing them what the real community is all about. Once you do that, it's over. And I tell people like really the effects of the pandemic for us were that we couldn't have live events. And there were a lot of people coming into the community at that time, and they thought they knew what TSP was, right? And they loved it. They said, oh, this is amazing. We were doing virtual events. They said, oh my gosh, I never experienced nothing like this. But what happened is when we had our first kind of, and it was partially open, we couldn't just have it wide open for everybody last June. There were people that had been in the community for like a year, and they thought they knew what TSP was, and they had their minds blown when they got to Atlanta. And we told them there, like, now you're really a part of the community. Like now you really see who we are, what we're about, and what makes us different. And that's what I'm so excited about, doing this first, like this is our first open event when we get to January.
Yeah, I saw one of the teaser videos. I was just like, oh man. I said, yep, I want to go to that event right there.
So we got to get you there for the June. So you can't make January. We got to get you there.
Yeah,
for June.
I got to try to get there for June. June's a
Yeah,
good time.
it's gonna be June is gonna be so. We can't announce details for June until the last day of the January event. But just mark my words on this. I want you to come back to me once you see me make these announcements. Hey, get your ticket and then get your flight and everything booked, and then I want you to hit me like, yeah, you know what, you was right. It's gonna be
good. Y'all that are watching this, make sure that you follow Lamar.
Yeah,
link's gonna be in all the descriptions. Don't wait, because Lamar sells out these conferences so daggone fast. I was listening to one of the videos you did in the group a couple weeks ago, maybe, but like it was already sold out, right, or something like that.
Yep.
And
yeah, that's it. I mean, most of the time on average, because we have them every 6 months apart, so it's not like a regular event where we sell them like the year prior, because we got an event every 6 months. But most of the time, those events sell out like in 2 to 3 months, and we've had some sell out in 1 month before. So it really is for us. Like it's that, again, it's the community piece, right? Yeah. It's like when you build a raving community, they're like, we can't wait to get together. We can't wait to go to the next level, and next level is actually attending the in-person events.
Yeah, there's nothing like being around people that think the same way or trying to go toward in the same direction, everything like that. But yeah, I love what you're doing over there. Let's talk about this mastermind thing, because I know you do a mastermind. I don't know all the details of your mastermind, but I didn't even know I was going to go in this direction. But last year, what I found myself doing was leading a mastermind. And because what I was initially, Lamar, don't laugh at me too much on this. I thought I was going to teach people how to leverage digital and technology and show them all this tech and how they can really leverage it. But what I was finding is, okay, I can teach you how to get on video. Like, even being an introvert, I can teach you how to get on video, cameras and all that stuff. But people were having a difficult time actually doing it. And I was like, we didn't spend all this time on connections and how much money you done spent the money, but you still aren't using it. And so what I started to do was kind of reverse engineer and focus on the doing. And I would tell people, nope, don't go buy it. I said, you better use your cell phone first. If you can't use your cell phone, you never go live. And so I started to cultivate this mastermind where I don't work with a lot of people because I'm really in the weeds of who I work with. But then I saw you have a mastermind. Can you explain to me, one, the benefit of a mastermind, and then kind of like what you do in your mastermind to help your community.
Sure. So we have a mastermind. It's called TSP Mastermind for Traffic, Sales, and Profit, named the community. We have like just over 150 businesses in it. So we got 150 businesses in it that work with us on 12-month intervals. So it's 12 months of you pushing, showing up for yourself and your business to get you from the level you at. Whether it's I'm trying to get to my first 6 figures, I'm at 6 figures, trying to get to 7, I'm at 7, trying to get to 8. We got all different levels inside of it. And then inside of that, we have groups kind of broken down based on like what size and scale of business you are, what you do. We got coaches and things like that. But just in general, like I said, take a step back and answer your question. A mastermind is all about getting a group of individuals together where the collective brain power of the group is more than just you yourself. And this is something that before I launched my own mastermind, I've been in plenty of masterminds. I've done mastermind events, right? And some of them were like ongoing. Hey, for this year, we meet once a month or once a week. Some of them were like, hey, it's just like a mastermind weekend. We come together. But what I found is that a lot of times we made huge shifts in our business was because we got open, honest, and transparent, put our business in front of other people that are as smart as we are, and let those people pick apart our business. Let those people give us their ideas. Let those people talk about what's working in their business so that we can implement it in ours. And one of the things I would always say, going back into our original brand, for us to get to 6 figures, for us to get to 7 figures, it took way too long. And that's what I always say. Like, and the reason it took too long is because we tried to figure out everything on our own. So every success, every failure took too much time, right? The shortcut to success is getting around people that have already been where you want to go, and then connecting with people that are like-minded, like you said, that are on the same journey and willing to push you so that when you want to quit, they say, hey, what are you doing? We got more to do. That's making sure you're doing your work. That's making sure you know what to do and implement it. One of the big things that I tell our community is that I found out the ultimate entrepreneur, not just, it's a lot of entrepreneurs, the ultimate entrepreneur has 3 things. And this is what I've seen from working with now like hundreds of businesses over the last few years through our mastermind program. We've worked with 24 different 7-figure companies. And we got like 2 of our companies, we got 3 more, should be hitting 3 more in the next few months. We got 2 of our companies that have scaled up to 8 figures, which is $10 million a year. And what I've learned is that the ultimate entrepreneur has 3 things. They have mindset, they have strategy, and they have execution. And that goes along with like exactly what you were talking about a second ago. Most people focus solely on the strategy part. They think all I need to know is how to do it. But once they get the information on how to do it, most of the time it still does not get done, right? So they got to have mindset. Mindset says, okay, I'm going to overcome these self-limiting beliefs. A lot of times, if I don't think I'm good enough to show up on video, if I don't think people will listen to me, if I don't think people will value what I have to say, it doesn't matter, what I get from Monte about every single step of the way. I won't show up the way I need to show up on video and do what I need to do. Even if I got mindset and I got strategy, guess what? I still got to execute. That means I still got to cut that camera on. That means I still got to publish. That means I still got to get the thumbnail. Like whatever it is I got to do, I got to make it happen. What we found is that if you're missing any one of those 3 pieces, everything can fall apart. If you got the right mindset and you're willing to execute, but you don't have the right strategy, you're doing stuff, you're just doing the wrong stuff. You know what I'm saying? If you got mindset and strategy, but you don't execute, you know all the steps, but you literally are not making it happen for yourself, right? If you got all the execution and you got the strategy, but you got the mindset, you'll never be able to move forward. You get stuck in this state of analysis paralysis. So literally having those 3 things, mindset, strategy, execution, and then being able to pull that together in a mastermind format where people can push you, support you, love on you, challenge you, show you how to get to the next level is nothing like it. And I found it to even be a lot more beneficial than one-on-one, because with one-on-one, a lot of times people come to the community, they want to work with me directly. I don't do one-on-one coaching. Yep. I say, when I do one-on-one coaching, you're limited to what I know. Now, I know a lot just from years of experience. I know a lot more than a lot of the people that may come into the community at first. But when I can put 10, 15 other people around me and you're leveraging what all of us know, is nothing that can compare to that.
Yeah, I encourage everyone to consider being a part of a real mastermind community, because I have like 8 in mine, and we show up and we get so much more done in the 2 hours that we're together then like you said, like I'm thinking about not doing one-on-ones myself. I'll do consulting calls or something like
Mm-hmm.
that, but I really don't want to work with anybody one-on-one for that very reason that you just said, because I have a couple people that are in my community that have more experience than I do. And so what they bring, I'm like, man, I would have never thought of that specific idea. And I like that idea more than I like my own idea I told you. And now I can help you
Yep.
execute on that idea. But that idea, that strategy that they said, oh, they actually had experience with it and they know, okay, maybe we don't want to quite do it this way. We'll do it this other way. And I think I've learned so much I've learned so much from my mastermind community, and I was the host of it, if that makes sense. Like
Mm-hmm.
they've brought so
Yep.
much to the table. I'm just like, oh wow. And there've been some things, some opportunities that they've presented to the group where we've just kind of kept it in house and we've taken, and some people have had some massive success from it. And it was just so powerful to be a part of that this year, and something I'm looking to continue on next
Yeah.
year
And,
as
and, if,
well.
and if I could add on, I mean, what you said is hitting on the head. I tell people oftentimes, people outside, we have like a private Facebook group for our mastermind clients. People outside the group oftentimes will not believe the conversations that happen inside of it. We had an event a few years back and we had Dr. Dennis Kimbrough come and speak. He's coming again in
Hmm.
January. So Dr. Kimbrough, he made a quote that literally has been our mantra since he spoke from the stage. He said, when you sit with winners, the conversation is different.
Hmm.
And what I realized is that when you get in the right mastermind with the right people, the conversation is totally elevated. Like the conversations that I have like outside of that group compared with what happens in the wins, right? Like it makes for a lot of people first coming in, they have to get accustomed to hearing the level of wins that people are talking about, the level of money when people talking about they make, because it'll stretch you if you're not used to having those conversations, which most people are not, because you have to get an intentional place. And then the last thing I wanted to mention, because I know a lot of people listen to say, well, I'll just go and I'm gonna make a mastermind with some of my friends. 9 times out of 10, I'm not gonna say 10 times out of 10, 9 times out of 10, that does not work. 9 times out of 10, free masterminds do not work. Not every single time. I've been in one. I take that back. I don't think I've been in one actually, but I've been in one like halfway work for a little bit. But the problem is that a lot of times when you're a free mastermind, since you don't have anything invested, anything on the line, is nothing holding you accountable to actually show up for yourself and your business the way you need to. So when I was in free masterminds, how that would manifest is we've had meetings where nobody would be on the meetings. We've had check-ins, nobody would check in. We had people where they would come, for the first meeting, right? And then we go through a whole year and I never see that person again. And forget they even in a group. So a lot of times when you have something invested in me at all times, I'm always paying to be in other masterminds other than my own. So the reason I do is I know that when I swipe that card for that payment, right? That's a level of me saying that, hey, you know what? I need to show up to make sure I don't waste my money.
Hmm.
And I know that just by showing up, I'm gonna get value from it. I can get a return on it. And then, oh man, this is such a good topic. Can I do one more thing? My
Go
last
ahead.
thing on this. Because a lot of times when people invest, and whether it's investing in something like your mastermind, investing in consultant, investing in one-on-one program, they're always looking at the upfront expense of it to them, right? What is the expense? How much is it going to cost me? What I want people to do is instead of looking at it as expense, flip that and look at it as an investment. There's between the expense and investment. When I invest in something, I'm looking for an actual return. And what most people don't realize, right? I could pay $50,000 today for a mastermind. But if I can learn something that makes me $50,000, and that's not even the case. A lot of times people are like, I'm spending 50, I want to learn how to make a million. Cool, whatever. But if I spend 50 and I can learn something to make me 50 grand, guess what? At that point, I'm in scot-free.
Yep.
Like everything I learned there is a bonus. But not only that, I could take the information I learned in that 1 year, and what if I use that to make $50,000 every single year forever in perpetuity after that? Like what would be the return on that investment of that first 50K? And so a lot of times I think a lot of us, we're risk averse. We think too small, but we need to tie in and say, all right, I need to get to a point where I'm starting to not just spend on my business, but invest in my business. The best investment I can make in that business is through investing in myself. And one of the best ways you definitely can do that is through masterminds.
Yeah. I definitely wanted you to speak on that because I know you've worked with some really good businesses that are well known out there. You got some Shark Tank businesses
Yep.
out there, so you got some credits behind your name out there. Um, how much time we got here? We got a couple minutes left. Um, I am, like I said earlier, I'm a fan of Lamar Tyler. I told a pastor this. I said, I'm a fan of Lamar. I told him, actually, I'm interviewing him tonight on the show. But I'm a fan of Lamar Tyler, the person that I just see as the guy, the husband, the father. And I'm also a fan of Lamar Tyler, the business person. And I have you separated in my mind in two different ways because, like, when I watched Lamar in the Facebook groups in the community, I'm looking at his business mind. I'm like, how is this working? How is he doing this? And the way you bring people together and how much love they show for you when they show up, like if you feel some type of way if you missed it, like if that makes it, like
Mm.
if because other people will be like, hey, I did this, I did this, I did this, and I'm like, man, and I just think all the way back, I'm like, oh, this is Lamar's group. Like he curated this whole experience inside of the group, and so I'm a fan from the outside. I can't wait to get a chance to meet you in person. It was funny you sent me that message. Like, nah, I'm in DC area. I'm not in Atlanta. It's like everybody goes to Atlanta and then they blow up down there, all the communities down. Come on back up here. I run TSP Fredericksburg, TSP DMV. You got a building, Lamar. I want to end on this note. You got a daggone building. Like you don't like rent the office space. You like own the office space, man. Tell me about that experience because you haven't been in there too long yet, but you've been in there long enough to get everything in there.
Yep.
Got the paintings on the wall and all that good stuff. I saw the YouTube video, the tour, and everything. Tell me about that, man.
Yeah, we own a building in the Atlanta area, but again, you know how we got to the building was through our mastermind, and it was the same thing you talked about. Like this is the beauty of it. You say, hey, it's not even about what I know. It's people that, hey, when it comes to certain things, like they know more than me, and they weigh into that. So the mastermind is not just a blessing to people's in; it's a blessing to me too. We had a couple that were clients of ours in the mastermind. And they said, hey, we bought our office. So I'm like, what do you mean you bought it? Like, I'm not familiar with what this actually means. I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, yeah, and they were maybe only like 5 miles away where the office we were leasing at the time was. So me and Rodney said, hey, we coming over to visit, check it out. They wanted to host us over. So we came in and they showed us, and they were like in a small office park. And as they took us through their suite, they were showing us this, showing us that. They took us upstairs. They had like a small training room. And what it did is it just allowed me to stretch my vision and stretch what I saw was possible for me. Because a lot of times we can't see what's possible because we don't even know the possibility exists. It's not that like we looking and we like, oh, we playing too small. Like, oh, I can't have that for me. I never even knew it was available for me.
Mm-hmm.
But when we got there and we saw what they had, then it made us start asking some questions. How much did this cost? What would this look like for us? If we bought a building, where would it be? What we need to have inside of it? When I saw their training room, I said, oh my goodness, I would love a training room because then I could continually, sell trainings and bring people in and do workshops and all this type of stuff that I really love to do. So when we looked, we found out that their mortgage was probably less than the rent we were paying through our lease. And that's when it really blew our mind. That's when we really said we got to get out of here because the office spot we were in at that point, we had like a 2-year plan. We said we're moving for 2 or 3 years and we'll go somewhere else. We'd already been there like 5 years. So we said, hold up, like there's another step beyond this. And that started us on a journey of looking for our own building. I said, trying to figure out what the requirements were, what we need to have in that space. We eventually found a building. Did a good job on it, rebuilt everything to what we need. So us and our staff, and we do all of our video and production and challenges and everything out of the building now. And now, right, we have owners. So everything that we're paying every month is going towards increasing our net worth, increasing our bottom line, and giving us something that we actually own versus something that we just, help to build somebody else's net worth. And probably the most surprising thing, I'm not surprised, that I am surprised because this really wasn't the intention, was how much us getting a building inspired other people. Because then when we got a building, since then it's been about 4 or 5 other mastermind clients of ours that got buildings. Because we got a building, we talked about the process, we were open and honest and transparent, we were going through it, and then they said, you know what, I can buy a building too. Like once we demystified it, same thing happened. Like we saw our clients, they had a building. We said, hey, we can buy a building too. Once we bought our building, it's about 4 or 5 other people in the mastermind say, hey, you know what? I can buy a building too. And now we're not just a community of people that buy, ads or community of people that buy graphics. We're a community of people that buy buildings that own land, that own real estate, and have value. That now we're sharing this and having an impact on other people, not just in the mastermind, but in our circles and the main traffic sales and profit community as a whole.
Yeah, so if you guys are in that Atlanta area, make sure that you rent out Lamar's space
Yep.
because that's one of the things. Like entrepreneurs that go to different cities, you're always looking for a hotel, but now we can keep that money in the community. Be like, oh, you got a space, okay, then I can just come to your space and keep that money in the community. Unless we got a whole bunch of people owning the hotels, then I'd rather keep the money into the
That's
community,
it.
our community. So, and it doesn't cost as much as leasing out a hotel room.
Exactly.
uh, Awesome, awesome, awesome. Lamar, I'm glad to have you on here. I got a whole group of people that are definitely going to be following you because I'm telling them to. So I'm going to make sure I get all your info. Y'all look in the description. Anything you want to leave people with going into the new year? Anything to give them that little push, because sometimes they need that push. They know enough information. At some point, you know
Yeah.
enough information to do something with, and then get to the next step, and then you learn some more information. Then keep moving on. But give them a little push in the 2022 here.
What I would just say for everybody, right, is as we head into the new year, is for you to push to adapt what I'm calling a champion's mindset. And I literally was just thinking about this morning on the way into the office, and I said, hey, you know what? I need to do something in our group about it. Because I think too often people have the expectation that the goals they strive for should be easy. And if it's not easy, maybe they're on the wrong track, maybe they're doing the wrong thing, maybe they should give up. But what I've seen between people where I've had like front seat access to their lives is that the difference between people that have high success and is not that they don't run the challenges. It's not that they find instant success. It's that when they get knocked down, they get back up and they don't quit. Right. So they go through family drama, they go through work drama, they go through business drama. They face all those things, but they literally see the difference. I call it the difference between being disappointed and being defeated. Like we can get disappointed. Like things may not go the way we always want them to go. And this happens even to us in our business, like continually. I may have expectations for something that may fall short of expectation. But even though I'm disappointed, that means I'll brush myself off and say, all right, well, what's the next thing I can do to compensate for what we didn't do this time? What I don't do is I don't get defeated. And I don't let any situation or challenge totally knock me down to where I'm giving up on myself, I'm giving up on my business, I'm giving up on my team. I refuse to do it. And as long as I can keep those two separate, right? Disappointment and defeat, I'll always be able to head in the right direction because I know no matter what happens, it's a lesson in it. No matter what happens, I can learn from it. I can make sure it doesn't happen again. I can make sure that, hey, what were the things that did go right and it did happen and focus on that so I can double down on that and then keep it moving forward so that we can get to the success.
Awesome. All right, y'all. I'm telling y'all better go follow Lamar if you haven't already. He's doing some amazing stuff over there. Make sure that Facebook group is free, y'all, to jump in. So make sure y'all jump in the Facebook group. It's free. Thank you, Lamar, for being here. Thank you guys for watching. If you guys have comments, questions, leave those in the comment section so I can get all those over to Lamar. He's surprisingly good for responding to like comments and being active, which I don't know how he does it with all those people that are in his community, but he's really good at doing it. So you guys make sure you go follow Lamar, and we'll see you on next week's live stream. Now, I know you guys got a lot of value from this video. If you did and you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button. I go live every single Monday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we talk about how to leverage digital tech and social media. So if you want to be a part of these live shows, make sure that you hit that follow button and that subscribe button, and I'll see you back next Monday.